If you follow these 7 strategies that we're going to talk about in this video, your students are not only going to actually follow your routines how you want them to and every single time, but they're also going to provide your classroom with so many wonderful benefits, which include making your life a lot easier, giving you a lot more time. They're also going to improve maturity with your students and independence. They transfer excellence to everything that you do. They also give students a sense of purpose. So we know that the more responsibility and burden we place on the shoulders of our students, the better they do, the happier they are, and the more motivated they are. And so that's what we're going to learn today. I'm going to give you the 7 strategies that will allow you to do this in your own classroom. Before we get there, please do me a favor and subscribe to this channel. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below. I would really appreciate it. Okay, so the first strategy when we're talking about routines and making them really powerful and potent and getting those students to follow them is that you must make them detailed. Detailed. All right, I don't really like the blue, but we're going to stick with it. So you need to be very specific when teaching your routines to students. The more detailed and specific you are when you teach them, the more likely that your students will follow them to a T. And what it also does is it also makes sure that while they're doing the routines, they're thinking. They're thinking. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to make your routines militaristic. It just means that you want to be highly specific in what your routines look like. Personally, I like my routines to be relaxed and calm and quiet, so I teach it that way. Sometimes I do some silent modeling, which is the number 2 is that you want to make sure that you model your routines. So you're going to personally model. Sometimes it's best to actually sit in a student's seat and go through the entire routine from start to finish as if you're an actual student. I like to trade places with a student and have that student act as a teacher, and then I'll follow the routine like a student. Now, if you're a high school teacher, you may do some of your modeling via pantomime. I mean, you don't have to, although you'll still be detailed, you don't always have to model every single step. Sometimes it's best to verbalize and model while you're standing in place. This is perfectly okay. You can also should get students to model as well. So ask for volunteers after you show them how to do it. Ask for a volunteer to model. You can have several students model, and then you can have the whole class model at the same time. The reason why we do this is that it shows students that it can be done, that it can be done correctly and exactly how you taught them how to do it. Okay. Third item is you want to make them as long as reasonably possible. So many teachers, their routines are so short and simple that the students, they zone out while they're doing it. They're hardly even paying attention. They're bumping into each other and this sort of thing. You want to make them long enough for your grade level where your students actually have to think. Now, routines don't necessarily mean that your students are always in line. They could be all following a routine, but in different areas. Maybe they're picking up materials from their from the back table, or they're checking their mailboxes, or they're putting their homework in a certain place, or they're sitting down to get ready for something, or getting laptops open, whatever it is, the students may be independently doing the routine, but you want to make them as long as possible with as many steps as possible as your students can handle. Now, if you're teaching primary age students, you may have to expand those routines or combine routines as the school year goes on and as those students become more mature. But the reason for having long routines is, again, is it puts more responsibility on their shoulders. It gives them goals. It engages their mind and provides purpose. So when you give your go signal, which we're going to talk about, the student has in their head, okay, I need to do this, 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 and this. And so they're focused on those things. I've talked in previous videos, and there are some articles on the Smart Classroom Management website about even adding steps to a regular routine. I like to do this in order to, again, engage their mind. So I may have them step on a piece of tape and do a dance, or yell out a vocabulary word, or fist bump me, or take the long way around a desk or the room, or anything just to add something new to the routine in order to keep their minds engaged. Okay. Number 4 is you want to teach your students to do them quickly. I visit a lot of classrooms, and most of them, the students are absolutely bored with the routines. And again, their minds are shut off. They're bumping into each other. They're frustrated. They're talking and this kind of thing. And one of the reasons, besides them being too short, is that they're not done quickly enough. So you want your routines to be done very efficiently. You want those students to move quickly, and you're going to teach it like that. You're going to teach them to move fast. We don't want them standing in line and waiting for you. You're not going to say to students, you're not going to get them in line and say, okay, walk to the spot there and wait for me. And then you go to the spot and you say, walk down to the next spot and wait for me. This is really, really common, but what it does is it causes misbehavior. It shuts their brains off, and you are not asking them to do, you're not reaching the level with which they can accomplish something. So if they can do something, well, then they should. If they're able to do anything, you shouldn't be doing it for them. So you shouldn't be doing their thinking for them. You should just allow them to do you teach them a routine, and then you allow them to do the entire routine. And so you want them moving quickly, and you'll teach them, and then you'll give feedback as they model and practice. The next thing is that every single time you want to give a signal. I recommend a go signal. So you'll say something like, in a moment, we're going to begin our grammar lesson, and you're going to need to get your grammar materials ready when I say go. And then you pause and you say go, and the word go gets them moving. And if they know what they need to accomplish, they're going to be accomplishing it. They're going to be working toward it. Kids don't want to just sit there. They want things to do. They want things on their list to tick off. So you're providing that for them. Also, it saves so much time, right? That's part of what makes your job so much easier, is that you're going to make everything that can be a routine, you're going to make it into a routine. So all you need to do is announce it and say the word go. Now, it's important to mention that after you teach, especially the first day of school, you teach a detailed routine. Every routine doesn't need to be taught and modeled in such detail because they get so good at it, especially as they get older, 5th, 6th, middle school. They get so good at it with your teaching that you can, again, say it specifically and they'll be able to do it on their own. We want to continue to challenge kids. I also like to do a lot of silent modeling. So I'll say, this is how we're going to do this particular routine, but I'm not going to say a word. You're just going to observe me and do what I do. And then I'll have a student model, etc., like that. But you always want to use a go signal. They get used to it. Every transition, there's going to be a go to the next routine to prepare them for the next activity or lesson. Number 6, you're going to observe. You're going to observe very closely while your students are doing the routine. When you observe, you don't say a word. So for routines to be effective, if you want your students to actually do them and perform them well, you're not only going to do all these things, but you are not going to say anything. No narrating. Narrating is a terrible strategy. Don't do it, because what it does is it turns their brains off. And it lowers their maturity level, because you're essentially saying to them, you can't do it and you need me to talk you through everything. So during routines, you are silent. All you're doing is watching them. And I like to watch close sometimes, so I'll walk around the line. They'll think it's funny. I'll look at them like this to make sure that they're doing it exactly. I'll follow a student like right at their shoulder. They think it's hilarious, but they'll do their routine and I'll just, okay, like that. There are other times when I'll hide while they're doing the routine, like if they're walking to lunch. I may send them off to walk the entire way. It may be a long distance, and there may be some steps along the way, things I want them to do as they're walking in line. And I'll hide behind trees. They'll see me, of course, and I'll be watching them. But sometimes I'll observe from a distance. But I want to know every single routine, how well it is being done. And you watching and them knowing you're watching goes a long way toward them feeling pride in doing it well. All these things fill them with pride, especially if you give them challenges along the way. They love it. And you're doing this again. You're doing this all day long. Last one is, if a routine doesn't go well, if for some reason you teach it really well, the students prove to you they can do it, and one day they do a routine poorly, you must reteach. But here's the thing. You must also take responsibility for it. So if your students are performing a routine and 3 students or less are off task, then follow your classroom management plan per normally, because they're misbehaving. They're off task and they're misbehaving. Just follow your classroom management plan. If it's more than 3, and usually it's a lot more, it's usually between 12, 15, 18 students if you have a class of 25 or 30, it gets really sloppy. In that case, you stop whatever you're doing immediately, send them back to the previous transition, and you take responsibility for it. You don't hold them accountable because, well, there's some reason they either didn't believe you or didn't understand. But whatever it is, it's not a punishment to reteach the routine. You want them to know that you are taking responsibility, and it is your responsibility. And so you'll reteach it in greater detail, have them practice it again. You're not doing it again as a punishment, so you're not being negative while you do it. You're teaching it with the same enjoyment and enthusiasm as you would any other routine. You praise them for it, and then you do it again. And then you say, okay, let's do the routine again. You're gonna stand up when I say go. You're going to collect your science materials and get back and then form into your groups and then look at me. ready, go. And then they do it well, and you praise them for it. We praise new learning because that would be new learning, and we praise for things that when students go beyond what they've done before, whether it's in performance or effort, academic or otherwise. But if you do these things, if you follow this set of strategies, you'll too also see the incredible benefits of routines in your classroom. Your students will be so much more mature. Other classrooms and other teachers will see the way your students walk across campus and be really impressed, give them compliments, this sort of thing. And again, all these things add up to a sense of pride in themselves and in the classroom. I hope this helps. Hope you're having a great week. See you next time.